Mark.
Hi, good afternoon.
Mark, it's 2 o'clock on a Wednesday.
You know what it means?
I do know. I do know what that means. So, welcome to episode 4 of the Continue Watching live streaming discussion, where we try to talk about TV, streaming TV, with no spoilers. No promises, though, but we make a good effort. I am Seventh Ton, and everybody, please join me in welcoming Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, but I assume Spectro, good afternoon.
Yes, Spectro, our most loyal listener, and right now our only listener. So, checks in the mail, Spectro. Thank you so much. So, as you know, the live chat, we try to do it in 3 segments. The first segment is news from around the Discord. We pop into all the Discord channels, see what people are talking about, and then we discuss it here. So our first story from around the Discord concerns Discover, or I guess Discovery, and Warner, their merger, Discovery and Warner merging. Apparently, the Discovery guys have been making their way around Washington, D.C., talking to various Congress members and people within the administration, I suppose. And apparently, they're saying they've heard no pushback about their proposed merger. Mark, do you think this merger is going to happen?
um, yeah, I think so.
Mark,
I think, yeah,
will this be good or bad?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's yeah. I'm a bit in the middle. Um, uh, in one way, it's good that for the consumers, I think that there are less possible streaming services, so it saves money at one hand. But at the other hand, it removes also competition. So
Yeah, it's kind of a
um,
double-edged sword, right? So
yeah,
if they merge, you get possibly more content for less money, but also there's a possibility that you get more content that you don't care about for more money than you want to spend, and there's nowhere else to turn.
yeah, that's also true. Yeah,
I think it's interesting because ever since AT&T bought Warner, it seems like it's been a complete disaster, in spite of the poor leadership and in spite of uh, all the disputes that HBO Max had with Roku and with Amazon, and having their apps not on those platforms for a very long time. HBO Max is actually doing quite well, I think. Uh, the viewership seems to be up. They're releasing shows that are getting good reviews. They've ironed out their differences with Roku and Amazon, and their app is on those platforms now. So despite the poor leadership, or at least the I don't know, I wouldn't say inexperienced leadership, but the kind of maybe mismanagement of AT&T towards Warner, it does seem like the actual content itself hasn't suffered much. So at least there's that. Like if it wasn't for that, this would be a complete disaster. Um, so thank God that HBO actually had some good content to roll out this past 6 or 8 months.
yeah,
And then
true.
Discovery, it's interesting because when this merger takes place, the gentleman who runs Discovery is going to be the one in charge of the merged group, which will be interesting to see how that goes, because Discovery has always been very popular. They have a lot of linear TV channels that they pull in content for. But they're not really known for high quality entertainment. It's almost exclusively, reality TV programming. So it'll be interesting to see how, when Discovery takes over, how they are able to run HBO. Hopefully the head of the new company will be pretty hands-off and continue to let the people that have been running HBO Max for the past couple of years continue to let them do their thing, because they're still putting out some pretty good content, and they have a lot of experience with good content, and that's the thing that HBO hangs their hat on, is their high quality content, the high quality dramas, and their creative comedies. So hopefully when Discovery and Warner merge, they don't screw it up.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah. And I think the merger was mentioned in a call, I believe. In some
recently.
Yeah, I think so.
That could be.
And it was I think it was some sort of investment call thingy.
Sure.
But they've also mentioned several other things for Discovery Plus, which is about to happen.
Discovery Plus has happened here in the United States. Discovery Plus has been available for many months.
Yeah, but
I don't know about where, like in Europe.
Yeah, the weird thing is, in that call, they mentioned that Discovery Plus will launch in Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands in fall this year, with a partnership with Vodafone, a telephone provider. But the weird thing is, we had Discovery Plus since May this year or something. So not sure what they release. What they will launch in fall, but
maybe they're just trying to. Maybe they're just trying to say they have a partnership with Vodafone, and they're just not. Maybe they just weren't explaining it very well. Maybe what they meant to say is, we are now launching with Vodafone as a partner, in addition to what we've already done. But I don't know. Hard for me to know.
Yeah, it's weird, but let's see what they come up with in fall of this year.
So when they say they're going to partner with Vodafone, what does that mean to you? Like, what do you think they mean by that? You get a free subscription if you're a Vodafone customer?
I don't think a free subscription, but at least some discounts.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like the O2 with Disney Plus in the UK.
Yeah, good point. They do that in the US too. Like Verizon in particular has a lot of. If you subscribe to certain plans with Verizon Wireless, they will give you the Hulu bundle for free, or Disney Plus for free, and Apple Music for free for 6 months. And they have Verizon has all kinds of these partnerships too.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
Vodafone is still an international provider, so I think it's a good one.
So, DirecTV, as you may know, is still is really, but it was a huge satellite TV distributor in the United States. I myself had DirecTV for many, many years, and it was so much better than any of the other options, so much better than cable, better than Dish Network, which was another satellite-based provider. So I really do have fond... I feel I have a fond feeling toward the company of DirecTV, just because I used it for so long, and their equipment was so much better than the competition. their service support was so much better than the competition. And I just really liked using the service. I always felt like I was getting the best possible TV solution when I had DirecTV. Of course, now DirecTV does not generally engender those sorts of feelings among the customers that it still has. I mean, it still has many millions of customers. I don't know if it's 20 million, somewhere in the ballpark of 20 million, which is still a lot, but they keep losing customers just hand over fist, quarter after quarter. It's definitely a dying product that hasn't quite leveled off yet. There always, in the United States, there will always be some kind of market, I think, or for the next decade, probably, there'll be a sizable market for satellite television, just because the United States has so many rural areas that don't have access to high-speed internet or affordable high-speed internet. And cable is not often, if cable is in that area, sometimes it's not always a good product when it comes to the TV part of the business. So DirecTV and Dish Network, to a smaller degree, do have a good market. Like, at some point it's going to level off. Like, they're not going to keep losing 1 million subscribers every year forever. At some point it'll level off, because there is those people that is their best option for access. Or here's another crazy suggestion: is DirecTV could just lower their prices, and then that would help a lot, because it is quite expensive. Back when I had it, you could often get pretty good discounts and promotions for your packages, but man, now it's like, when AT&T took over DirecTV, they raised the prices and they cut most of the discounts, and it's just expensive, and it keeps getting more expensive. So, if they cut their prices by like a third, so if they took, like, I think their cheapest package is somewhere around, say, $75 now. If they cut that down to $50, that makes it way more competitive with cable, because cable you can get some pretty good deals with cable depending on where you live. At any rate, DirecTV got bought by AT&T some many years ago, and AT&T was losing money, and what they decided to do was to spin off DirecTV with another company. They kind of merged, and the DirecTV spinoff is now official and done. So DirecTV is technically no longer a part of AT&T, which is a big deal to some. It's a big deal to a lot of people.
And a lot of people, you mean investors, or just also regular people not having faith in DirecTV, or
both? I mean, both. It's a big deal for AT&T because they get to take those losses off their books. So when they do their quarterly earnings reports, they don't have to keep saying, "Oh, also we lost $30 million on DirecTV. Oh, by the way, we lost 300,000 subscribers for DirecTV." So that's off the books, which should help AT&T in a stock market sense, like in a financial sense. At least to some degree. But for other people that have to use DirecTV, I think it'll be, subscribers. I think it'll be interesting to see what this new company that's the result of this spinoff, what are they going to do? Because it seems obvious that by continuing to do what they're doing now, they're losing money and losing not only are they losing money, but they're losing subscribers. Usually those things go hand in hand, but not always. But they're losing in every conceivable vector. So it's interesting to me. What I'm really paying attention to is, are they going to what are they going to do to try to turn the company around?
Yeah, yeah.
Plus, they're going to take their streaming. They have a live TV streaming service that will also now be branded. Instead of having AT&T branding, it'll have DirecTV branding. And I'm interested to see if any change happens there, because they don't have a lot of subscribers to that service, and it is quite expensive. And it is, but it also happens to be the only streaming TV service that still has regional sports networks, which is a big deal for like American sports fans. That's how most people watch their local baseball team or their local basketball team and hockey teams, etc.
So those are two separate subscriptions then.
So if you subscribe to the streaming service, you will get however, it's like 70 channels or whatever, and that includes your regional sports network, which is in contrast to YouTube TV or Hulu Live, who also have whatever 70 odd live streaming channels, but no regional sports network.
Okay.
And that's a big deal, because you can substitute for a lot of that, like the live, so like the live streaming TV channels, right? So like TNT, Discovery Channel, Food Network, Bravo, whatever, all those. You can, like ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, etc. You can, there's a way, there's ways to still get that content even if you don't have a live TV subscription. You can use Hulu. You can use Discovery Plus. You can use Disney Plus, etc. So you can still get that content without having a live streaming service, but you cannot get those regional sports networks. And so just sports networks in general, there is still not a really good substitute for watching sports without a live streaming service. So it'll be interesting to see that's a whole can of worms that I could go on, that you probably don't care about, and many of the people listening to this don't care about. So we should probably just move on. But that's like the last knot that live streaming services need to untie, because once they do that, they become true competitors to cable and satellite, because there will be almost no difference between what you can get streaming and what you can get through your cable company. I mean, the difference right now is very, very slight, and the difference is those live sports. So if YouTube TV and Hulu Live can start getting a better roster of live sports streaming, that will be a big deal. They're almost there. It's really what we call the regional sports networks that is the hang up. So once those get back onto the streaming platforms, the live streaming platforms, it'll be a big deal. They used to be on YouTube TV and Hulu, mostly. But when all of these regional sports networks got bought, Fox owned them, and then Disney bought the Fox stuff. But part of the deal was, when Disney bought all that Fox stuff, the regulators said Disney could not hold on to the regional sports networks, that they needed to sell them to somebody else. So they did sell them to somebody else. And when they did that company, which is mostly called Bally's now, basically decided that they were going to pull they pulled their channels from the live streaming services, except for the AT&T/DirecTV one. It's all a money thing. It's all a disagreement about money. So eventually they'll figure it out. But we've spent way too long talking about this. So moving on. On Disney Plus, there is a spin-off. I don't know if it's a spin-off or a reimagining of the old show Doogie Howser. And this show is going to be called, this new version, is going to be called Doogie Kamaloha? Kamaloha, I think is how it's pronounced. Kamaloha. Doogie Kamaloha MD, which is going to be a new spin on Doogie Howser MD, which is basically a child, a very young child genius who becomes a doctor and works at a hospital. Again, this is going to be on Disney Plus, and it's going to be starring Peyton. No, what is her name? Her name escapes me, but she was the main character on Andy Mack, the Disney Channel show. Have you seen Have you seen any of this stuff, Mark? Have you seen Doogie Howser MD? Have you seen Andy Mack? Are you interested in this show at all?
No to both questions. No, I haven't seen Doogie Howser and Andy Mack, but I have seen the trailer or the opening sequence and the visuals for Doogie Kamealoha, or whatever it's called, whatever it's pronounced. And I think it's quite interesting to see something like that on Disney Plus. It's different than all the other original content, and I think that's a good thing.
I think it looks interesting. That actress's name is Peyton Elizabeth Lee, by the way. Basically at this point, I'll give anything on Disney Plus a shot, because mostly it's pretty good. The stuff I like the least on Disney Plus is the stuff that everyone likes the most. So the Marvel stuff is the stuff I like the least. I've seen it all except for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I did not finish, but I'll give it all a shot. So I'm looking forward to it. I like that actress, Peyton Elizabeth Lee. I did not think Andy Mack was a great show. We can talk about why maybe another day, but I thought the actress was good. I thought she was good on screen, and hopefully this will be some better material for her, and the show will be good. We'll find out.
It's quite different from Andy Mack, right? It's I know it's the same actress, but the whole story of Andy Mack is quite different and quite of a lower, in her early teen years, I think.
On Andy Mack?
Yeah.
And very young, like very early teens. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the new series, she's in her mid-teens-ish.
I'm guessing somewhere between 18 and 20, maybe? I don't know. So the whole conceit of the show is that she's very, very young, especially for a doctor. So.
Oh, she's a 16-year-old girl. So
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, a 16-year-old as a doctor is quite different than a 13-year-old. Doing her thing in Andy Mack.
Yeah.
Whatever she's doing.
Yeah. So we'll see how it turns out. This is one of the shows that they mentioned way back when Disney Plus was first announced. So it's kind of just like Monsters University was, or no, Monsters at Work was. So it's interesting to see Disney Plus getting around to these. I mean, they mentioned them. They announced them like almost 2 years ago, and now they're getting around to them. So. Okay. Do you want to talk about the Mighty Ducks season 2?
Well, yeah. Spectro mentioned it. They announced the season 2 for it earlier this week. So.
Did you watch the first season?
No, not yet.
Oh, you should. It's pretty good. It's quick too. It's like, I don't know if it's 10 episodes, but each episode is like 25 minutes, so it's not.
Oh, that's doable.
Yeah. I mean, you can watch several
even
in a row.
Yeah, even if you don't like it, it's better than an hour-long episode. So
Yeah, it's better than suffering through Loki, but we don't have to go there. I liked it. I watched it. My whole family watched it. We liked it. It was. We had only seen the first movie. We watched the first movie before we started watching the show. And we didn't bother watching the second and third film. And I don't really think we missed much. So if you're thinking about watching the Mighty Ducks show on Disney Plus, but you're worried because you haven't seen the movies, it's not really a big deal. Ideally, at least watch the first one, which is also on Disney Plus, conveniently enough. But if for some reason you can't watch or you don't want to watch all the movies, I still think you can jump back in and really not miss too much of it. I'm sure they made it that way by design.
yeah.
So speaking of Marvel and Disney Plus, the show What If was just announced with a release date. Is that right?
No, no. I think the release date was known before.
Okay.
To be next Wednesday, but you won't like it because it's Marvel. So
Well, now come on, that's not fair.
well, it's animated, so there might be a chance. Um, yeah, I think everyone except you is pretty hyped about it.
Okay, well at least there's that. I don't know. It seemed okay. So it seems to me. I mean, we'll have to wait and see if it's going to be any good. I can tell you right now, I'm not going to watch it unless people that I know and trust tell me no. Hey, no, this is really good stuff. I'm not going to bother with it. Partly because it is animated, and I'm not always. I do watch like a lot of animated, not a lot of stuff. I watch plenty of animated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really a barrier to entry for me, but I'm not especially drawn to animation. Pardon the pun. But I'm not going to. The thing that about this show, about the conceit of the show, does nothing for me because it's not canon, right? It's like these are all just self-contained episodes asking the question, what if this happened in the Marvel universe? So nothing that's going to happen on the show is going to matter later on, which actually now that I say that out loud, it actually sounds okay. Like I think that's refreshing, because I think part of the problem, this is just me up on my soapbox, but part of the things that I don't like about the MCU is that they're really invested in this idea that everything needs to have an influence on everything else. And I don't always find that very appealing. And I don't often think it leads to good creative decisions. Like you can look at lots of the Marvel movies and they don't really finish the story because they want to finish the story in part 2, or they want to finish the story in an Avengers movie, or they don't want to finish, they don't want to tie up all of the loose plot lines because they want you to watch their show on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Which sometimes, can be interesting, but often I think they do it so often now that it's a turnoff to me. So maybe the fact that What If is totally like that, like nothing matters from one episode to the next, and nothing that's happening in this show will have an influence on the actual MCU. Maybe that actually should be a selling point for me, but either way, I'm having a hard time getting excited about it. Are you?
Yes. Well, yeah, I am excited about it. Even though I haven't watched any animated series, adult series before, so that's the first. But I like the art style and the just the whole concept. It's interesting, and
maybe
even though, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe I would be slightly more excited about it if, because I was a big comic book fan for a very long time, and Marvel was my preferred comic book universe. And the What If series is based on a comic book series. So like this idea has been around for a long time. This whole idea of what if this happened in the MCU and how would that affect everything else, is a concept that 15 years ago I thought was kind of interesting, but now I'm just like, oh, they're taking that concept from the comic. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, every Marvel is based on a comic. Almost every Marvel movie or series.
Yeah, well, I mean, it remains to be seen. Right? I don't know if they're directly adapting the What If comics. Like, I don't know if they are or not. I can't answer that. But so
well, at least it's based on the comics.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that.
And at first, what surprised me was that when it first was announced, and I looked it back up, it was announced December 18, 2019. So it's also in the beginning of Disney Plus. It was announced that none of the original actors would participate in it. And it turns out that some of them are. So
I didn't know
like
that.
Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans, those are not participating, but Benedict Cumberbatch and Michael Douglas and even Chadwick Boseman.
Interesting.
So they're pretty big names, and even Jon Favreau. So.
Well, I did not know that. But speaking of comic books, this is one that I can get excited about. Y: The Last Man, which was a comic book series that I read probably 15 years ago. And so at this point, it's probably almost 20 years old because I didn't read it when it first came out. This has been a show this has been a property or an IP that has been rumored to be, it was going to be made here. It was going to be made by HBO, and then it wasn't. And then it was going to be made by another studio, and then it wasn't. And it bounced around for years until finally we learned that it was going to be done and shown on Hulu. And now we have a actual premiere date set for Y: The Last Man, and that's going to be September 13th. And like I said, that's going to be on Hulu.
Yeah, I've seen. I've only seen the tweet. Spectro just posted the teaser for the series.
Yeah, that's all I've seen. I think that might be all that they've put out.
Yeah, and I think I'm not that hyped because we have to wait for another couple of months probably for it to become available outside of the US.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, yeah, it's pretty common for FX series and things. So yeah.
Well, this is going to motivate me to resubscribe to Hulu. Like I haven't had a active subscription to Hulu for many, many months because I had watched everything on there that I really needed to see. And but Y: The Last Man will get me to renew my subscription. So looking forward to it. Let's talk about. Go ahead.
No, I would say we will hear when you've seen it. So
yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
I hope it's good. Like it's a really well liked comic book series. I mean, there aren't many comic book series that came out almost 20 years ago that people are still reading and talking about today. And Y: The Last Man is one of those series, and so that has to tell you something. It is a high quality comic that has continued to stand up over these many years, and I hope that they've done a good job with it. It's been, I just read it the one time. It's quite long. I think it was maybe 24 issues, maybe slightly more than that. It was something like that. And it was real. I really enjoyed it. It's a pretty big deal that they actually got the project to move forward, and I just hope that it's pretty good. I hope that they stayed faithful to the source material, because that's has proven to be high quality. Let's talk about Amazon. So over on Amazon Prime, they won the rights to make a Lord of the Rings television show to be shown on Amazon Prime. And we also learned not very long ago that they've already started shooting season 2, right? Before season 1 has even come out. And when we heard that, we were all like, wow, that's fairly unusual. Well, they've announced now, Amazon has, that season 1 of Lord of the Rings, which is not the actual title, they just haven't announced the actual title, but whatever they're going to call this Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, is not going to premiere until September 2nd of 2022, more than a year from now. It's 13 months from now. What? Explain that to me.
Yeah, I think you need to ask Jeff Bezos for that.
He's too busy blasting off in outer space, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think it's all about creating and moving the hype train and get people talking about it and
for 13 months?
Yeah, why not? I mean, they did it with What If. So
because I'm not going to care about it in 13 months.
Well, yeah, and yes and no. I mean, look about the Doogie Kamealoha show and What If. They were all announced way back, and now we are talking about them. And What If was always on the scope, and so are some other shows that are announced at some point and will be released. After more than a year.
So, well, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's all about the hype train, I think.
Oh, man.
To get it going.
I think it's a mistake. You don't really need a hype train for Lord of the Rings. Everybody knows Lord of the Rings. All you have to do is say it's Lord of the Rings, and like everyone's going to show up. You know what I mean? Like, why if Lord of the Rings was not a popular franchise with a lot of name recognition, Amazon wouldn't have paid. How much did they pay to get the rights to this, to make a show based on it? Do you happen to know?
I've read it somewhere.
It's a staggering amount of money. It was $250 million.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
With a 5-season commitment worth at least $1 billion. So just to get the rights to do the show, they spent $250 million. Apparently, or reportedly, Amazon spent almost $500 million, almost $500 million on season 1 filming it. So at this point, they have $750 million tied up in one season of Lord of the Rings. Now, listen, Amazon would not pay $250 million just for the rights and another $500 million for one season of the show if it didn't have a huge built-in audience, right? That's the appeal. Everyone knows Lord of the Rings. That's why Amazon has put $750 million into this thing. So they don't need 13 months to hype it up. Everyone knows it already. That's why they paid $250 million just for the rights to make a show based on it. You know, you mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but still, yeah.
How much hype do you need for a show that someone bid $250 million just to say this is a Lord of the Rings show? Because it's not clear to me what they paid for, Like they paid $250 million to make a show based on Lord of the Rings, but what does that even mean? Like, do they get to pull from source material? Do they get to pull from the actual novels and anything written by Tolkien, like the rest of the Tolkien Lord of the Rings stuff that he wrote? I mean, there's the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit, and then there's that other volume of stories and information about the Lord of the Rings world. I don't remember what it's called, but does that mean that they can pull from that? Or does it not? I have no idea. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I've only read that they get the right to make it and to stream it worldwide. But yeah,
it's crazy.
What exactly? Yeah, good question.
I don't know. All right. Anyway, so that's coming out in 13 months. Go ahead and set a reminder on your phone for 13 months from now, so you don't miss it. Mark, tell me about American Horror Stories.
Yeah, just this morning, the nights in America, several Disney Plus accounts mentioned that both American Horror Stories and American Horror Stories Season 10 will eventually come to Disney Plus. And just like The Why the Last Man, it's after a couple of months when they aired in the US. So the American Horror Stories are available in the US right now. So the 4th episode was last week. And American Horror Stories will start streaming in Europe in September. Yeah, September 8th. So that's roughly a month after. After the streaming in America. But the American Horror Story Season 10, I think it will stream the 25th of August in America, the first episode, and it won't be available until October in Europe. So
here's what I don't understand. Why? Okay, American Horror Story. I understand that. There's 10. Season 10 is going on right now. Why did they have a spin-off of that show called American Horror Stories? It's really bad. It's a really bad title because it makes it really hard to talk about the show. Yeah. Like, are you talking about American Horror Story or American Horror Stories? Terrible. Who came up with this? Yeah. This is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, good question. Yeah, before it was...
Just throwing an S at the end of something does not make it good marketing.
True.
I don't get it. I don't care because I don't watch the show, but it sure makes it confusing to talk about it. In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, haven't you seen any of the seasons of American Horror Story?
No, I haven't even seen 1 minute. 1 minute of it.
Okay.
I don't know why. Are they? I mean, I guess apparently people really like it because there's 10 freaking seasons of it. But horror is not my genre. Not my preferred genre.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's why. I guess when I heard it was a horror anthology show, I was just like, okay, well, not for me. But I don't know. I can't say that I dislike all horror. Is it more horror? Let me ask you this. Is it more horror or is it more creepy suspense?
I think more creepy suspense, and some seasons not even that. As you might know, each season has its own storyline.
Right.
But mostly with the same actors. So at first that might be confusing. And one season is called Asylum. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. And the another season is Coven. So that's more about witches and stuff. So that's less creepy than the Asylum one. So it's all, yeah. It depends on the season, but you don't have to see each season so let me say it otherwise. You don't need to have seen season 1 for you to see season 2. There are some uh, universes crossing with Coven and another one, but I don't think it's necessary.
Right, that's the whole idea, is that you don't need to watch one season to the next, the way that show is constructed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I will, because I do like creepy suspense. Like, I like that M. Night Shyamalan show on Apple TV Plus, Servant. And that's not horror, really. It's just kind of creepy suspense. And I like all the other M. Night. No, I don't like all of M. Night Shyamalan's films, but the ones that I do like are not really horror. They're more kind of creepy suspense, which is fine for me. I like that. Don't get enough of that, I'd say. Okay, let's talk about.
You should give it a go at some point and just look at
Which one
maybe
is
watch
which one is the
maybe
best?
watch in my opinion, Asylum.
Okay, well, maybe
But
I'll
that's
try
all
that one.
that's the creepiest one. So, but yeah, you also have Hotel, which had oh God, what was her name? Lady Gaga in it.
Oh, okay,
Um,
yeah.
well, yeah, I
I
thought so
remember
too
that.
when
Yeah,
I heard that, but it was decent.
I'm sure she's
Um,
fine.
but I mean, yeah, you should watch a YouTube movie or video about a recap of the first 9 seasons, or at least watch some trailers to decide which ones you like most.
Oh, I'll just take your word for it,
Yeah,
and I'll watch.
and yeah,
Which one did you say? I've already forgotten. Asylum.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the second season, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, the Spectro mentioned the campy one. I think you meant last season, the 1978 thing.
I'm not crazy about campy stuff. So I'm gonna tell you right now, if the selling point of this show is that it's campy horror, then that's a hard out for me. I can't do it. So I'll start. Okay, I'll start with Asylum. Apparently,
Yeah,
I'm being told that Asylum is the least campy, so
yeah.
we'll go with that. We started. Well, speaking of campy horror, what is the show that was on HBO that was like the werewolves and vampires and all that? It was the Sookie Stackhouse. Yeah, True Blood. Thank you in the chat. True Blood got way too campy. Like, I watched the first season, and then into the second season, it got really, as I remember, it got way more camp. Like, after that first season, and I had to just quit it because I was not. That's not appealing to me. So, as long as American Horror Story isn't quite like that, then I think there's a chance I'll like it. So I'll start with Asylum.
Looking forward to your comments.
Well, speaking of watching things, let's move on and talk about some of the things that we've been watching, Mark. I finished Mythic Quest season 1, which was really good. Like, that was I don't know why. I think the reason I didn't watch it when it first came out was because I got it conflated. I conflated it with that other show that was like that space exploration show that I think was on Netflix, and it had the House MD actor. Is it Hugh something? His name's on the tip of my tongue, but he was in a show on Netflix, I think, or it was HBO. One of the two. Maybe it was HBO. Hopefully someone in the chat will know. I got it conflated, Mythic Quest, with that show, which I did not like. I watched the first episode and I did not like it. So I did not watch it when it came out. But now, having watched the first season of Mythic Quest, that's really good. Like, I'm totally glad that I watched it. everyone, the penultimate episode was a COVID episode, so they just filmed it all like webcam style, like it was all a big Zoom meeting, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was saying how good they thought they handled that, and it was really good. But the highlight of the show, I thought, was closer to like the second, maybe the fourth episode. Spectre and I were talking about it. Um, really good, it was like a backstory episode that was really really good. So yeah, so I finished it off. Season 1 is done for me. I'll move on to season 2 next. Didn't especially care for the finale of season 1,
Mm-hmm.
but hopefully it was just kind of setting some stuff up for season 2. So looking forward to
Okay.
that. I'm also continuing to watch Megadoon on Apple TV Plus. That's the musical comedy uh, show that I have been watching from day one, and it's still good. It's still entertaining. They are starting to move the plot along in a way that I think will be interesting for the entire season. So that's good because I was worried that they were going to just kind of keep using the same joke over and over. But now they've seemed like have are moving the plot along in a way that
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit more broad. So that's still good. Still can recommend that. And then just over the weekend, on a complete whim, I decided to watch season 1 of The Crown on Netflix again. I've already seen it. I've seen every episode of The Crown,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just in the mood for it. So I started it back up on season 1, episode 1, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I did because that show is so good. It's just a phenomenal show uh, across the board. The acting, the writing, the cinematography, the locations, everything is just 100% great, and I'm definitely gonna follow through and watch them all again. I'm just gonna watch I think there's 4 seasons. I'm gonna watch them all over again because man, they're really good. And there's nothing out. There's nothing else out right now that scratches that itch. Like there's nothing else out like it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so that's The Crown season 1 on Netflix.
And do you think people need to like or have an interest in the United Kingdom of British history to like The Crown?
I think that it helps. I think that if you don't know anything about um, the British monarchy, Queen Elizabeth and
Mm-hmm.
her family, I don't think it matters. I mean, it doesn't. It shouldn't matter because they're telling you the story. Like that's what they're explaining to you, right? So if you've never even heard of the United Kingdom at all, like you don't even know it exists,
Yeah,
like
well,
you should
mm,
you should still be able to tune into the show and enjoy it because the whole concept of the show is describing to you all of the people in the royal family with a particular with I mean the focus is always on Queen Elizabeth,
yeah, of course.
and explaining to you who all the people in her family and what they what their personal lives are like, and the kind of ins and outs of what it means to be a member of British royalty, and it's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, if you don't, I mean, not only does it, I mean, it doesn't matter if you know anything about British royalty at all because it's definitely going to be explained to you. That's the whole show.
Hmm.
But you don't even need to know that the United Kingdom is a country that exists on Earth.
Yeah, okay.
Have you seen it?
The first two seasons, yeah. I haven't seen season 3 and 4.
Oh, how come you? Why did you give up?
Um, Lost interest, I think, and so many other things were releasing, and yeah, uh, I'm not keeping up with all the things released.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I had to make choices, and this was one of the series
You
I
have no
look at.
time for The Crown because you have American Horror Stories to watch.
Exactly.
Always picking the Americans over the British. I see.
Well, no comment.
Come on. You walked right into that one. Okay, Mark, tell
Yeah,
us what you've
true.
been watching.
Yeah, of course, American Horror Stories, episode 4. What a surprise. And I was like, yeah, I think the first reaction I gave was to Spectro, like, what the heck have I been watching? Um, because it was like, completely different from the first 3 episodes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, each episode has its own story, except from episode 1 and 2.
Oh, I see. That's the whole point of this series, right? Is that it's like it's an anthology series where they're all just like standalone episodes or stories,
Yeah,
plots. Yeah.
yeah, but the series gave me the impression, especially with episode 1 and 2, that all episodes were somewhat related to one of the other seasons. That would have made sense to me. Um, but I can't make a connection with season episode 3 or 4 with any of the other seasons. So
Huh.
yeah, let's see what episode 5 turns out.
Yeah, this is what I like so much about weekly shows on a weekly release like that, because they give you
Hmm.
time. They give you time to like think about what's coming next.
Yeah, and to discuss it, and yeah, with American Horror Stories, it's each week has its own story. But with let's say Loki, you can discuss what's happened in the previous episode and speculate what is going to happen in the next one.
Yeah, it's
Um,
part of the fun.
yeah, um, some of my friends are even having bets about what's happening in the next episodes. So yeah, I
What else?
think that's sorry.
What else have you been watching? I was going to ask you what's next.
The season final of High School Musical, the musical
Oh,
series.
I'm not there
Yeah,
yet. Careful. I think I'm
yeah,
only about halfway through that season.
yeah. It's hard to say anything about the season finale without spoiling anything. Um,
Let me ask you this then. Which season was better, season 1 or season 2?
Season 1, definitely.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Cuz I've
in
been
my
I've been
opinion, yeah.
enjoying season 2 more, I think. But it could all change. I
No.
think I'm only halfway through.
Yeah. Let's review it when you've seen the season finale.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Let's see if you still think the same.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and the last thing I've been watching with the Premier Access is Jungle Cruise. So the movie that's released last Friday.
Okay. And you watched
Yeah,
it at home?
yeah, with Premier Access. Yeah, yeah. I
How
think
is the
it
process?
was
Let me before you begin, let me ask you, since
okay.
I've never done it, how is the process for ordering a movie through Premier Access? Is it easy? Like what's the process for ordering it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the same in every country. I
Well,
mean,
what's it like for you?
yeah, we have several options. We can pay for we have 3 options. We can just with the regular monthly subscription. So 1 month it will be added to the monthly
Okay.
subscription.
Yep. So they bill
Um,
you through your account or whatever.
yeah,
Okay.
you can also have a credit card billing process. So you fill up your credit card
Like, are they so
information.
they charge you immediately for it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have a local or a national payment option, Ideal. It's just in the Netherlands and in Belgium, I think. Yeah, we can pay with our bank account, so it will be right off your
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it'd be like a debit, like
Yeah,
a
it
debit
is. Yeah.
transaction. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you do? I mean, you click on it, and then it says how do you want to pay, and then you just tell it how you want to pay, and then boom, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Easy. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to reload some of the stuff. Let's say if you have it on your Apple TV or something, you need to reload the app to become available
Got it.
for the movie. So
What do you watch on? What do you use for streaming? What device?
mostly the Apple TV.
Okay. Do you have the new one or the previous
Yeah, the new 4K one.
with the
Yeah.
good remote?
Well, yeah, I didn't dislike the old one. Yeah, the new one is better, but to say that the old one was
The old
bad,
The old
nah.
one was very bad. Very, very bad.
Well, yeah,
It was the only thing that kept me from using the damn box.
yeah. You
The remote was so bad.
you also thought it was too expensive, and the way it is, but
Well, I mean, it is expensive. Come on.
it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, true. But I mean, it's
It's
all of
really
the
good though.
yeah, the ecosystem and
Yeah. But the new one is really good. Like the remote is so much better. I turned off the click wheel thing because I don't want anything to do with that swiping or click wheel or touch interface. I hate it all. But you can turn it off, and and it's so good. It's so good. I mean, it's still too expensive. It's still at $180 American. It's still very expensive, but
that's not the 4K one, right? Or is it?
It's the new one, like the new one.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more expensive in euros, so that's why I got confused.
Yeah. But it's like 180 before, before tax, 179.99 before tax. So by the time you've bought it and paid the tax on it, it's damn near $200, which is
right.
like so expensive, but it really is good. I mean, it's easily, I've used them all. I have Roku built into my TV, and I've used that for a very long time, and that's good. I still am very fond of Roku and the remote and just the whole way they have their OS and UI set up. I use the Google Chromecast with Google TV, and that one is pretty good too, but it's very inexpensive. It's like $50, and you feel the cheapness in the remote. Like the remote is just like a really clicky, cheap feeling remote. Like the remote is just bad, and some of the implementation is bad. Like the voice commands never work. None of the apps like implement it. It's just really bad. And then Apple TV, man, everything goes super fast. There's hardly any buffering. The launching the apps is super fast. Switching between the apps is super fast. Fast forwarding and rewinding is great. The voice commands work all the time. Like if you tell it, if you invoke the voice command and tell it to fast forward 10 minutes, it happens reliably every time. If you invoke Siri and tell it to turn on subtitles, it'll do it every time. It's just really, really good. But man, it really is expensive. But anyway, we weren't talking about Apple TV. We were talking about Jungle Cruise. And so, tell us, did you like it?
Yeah, I was surprised in a good way. I had some expectations of it, especially since you were comparing it with The Mummy. So I was like, okay, let's see.
Now, hold on. I was not comparing it to The Mummy. Other people were comparing it to The Mummy, and I was just saying, I have heard that this has The Mummy vibes.
Well, okay, fair enough. You told me that. But anyway, yeah. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it looked like The Mummy at all.
I don't think so either. Like I told you earlier that it was. I think people were making that comparison because it's action adventure movie set in a jungle with a male and a female lead characters or whatever. And beyond that, that's really where the similarities end. But I don't know. So,
Yeah, at some point, it to me it looked more like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie than the Mummy. But
I agree. I mean, there's like, they both take place on boats, so there's that.
yeah,
But aside from putting the obvious aside, they just have like an action adventure PG-13 Disney vibe that I can't quite explain. Like I can't quite put what that means into words. Like what I can't describe that very well, other than to say, like if you've seen other PG-13 action adventure Disney movies, like this one has a very similar feel. A lot of kind of slightly goofy antics, some good wisecracks, some, big action scenes with some quieter scenes in between. A lot of, there's just like kind of a breezy action adventure-y kind of vibe to those movies that I really enjoy. So, like I had said before on the server that the thing I liked most about the movie is that it was actually an action adventure movie and not just an action movie. We get tons and tons of action movies, right? The Fast and the Furious movies, those are all action movies. Every natural disaster movie that they come out with, that's just an action movie. James Bond is basically action movie. Although they kind of flirt with action adventure, but I would say those are more action than action adventure. But I was just so happy to see like an actual action adventure, a movie that felt like action adventure to me rather than just action.
Yeah, true. And what did you think? What was your first impression about? And I know Spectro knows this, so I'm not spoiling it for him because he hasn't seen it, but he said it the last episode. What was your first impression of The Backside of Water?
Well, here's the thing. If they don't include that joke, then it's an F. Like they have to. It's a grade F if they don't include the Backside of Water joke. They have to. But I loved it. Like I did love all the dumb jokes. Like they didn't really have to, being more serious. They don't have to include that sort of thing. If they didn't include a bunch of bad Jungle Cruise-esque jokes in the movie, I wouldn't have complained too hard about it. But I'm glad they did because
I think a lot of people
it was funny.
I think a lot of people would complain about it if it didn't have the dumb jokes or
I mean, fair enough, but I mean, I guess my main point is I'm glad that they did.
Yeah, true. Even though I haven't been in the Jungle Cruise attraction.
Yeah.
Let's say it that way. I get the jokes, and that I think that's important. Sure, some of the jokes are familiar to people who have been on the Jungle Cruise attractions, but they also have to be funny for people that never were on those attractions, and I think they nailed that part.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, I thought it was really good. My only complaint about it, so I can talk about it without any spoilers, because my complaint about this movie is essentially the same complaint I have about every action movie of the past like 20 years, which is that it's too long. 2 hours and 10 minutes is too long. We can cut this down to an hour and 45. Like, come on. Longer does not equal better. And also, I felt like the final action scene, which is not a spoiler, every freaking action movie ends with a big action scene. The final
Yeah.
action scene was both too long and not really that great. I mean, in terms of action, and there's several times in that action scene that kind of slow down to allow for some plot development and dialogue.
Hmm.
And the plot development and dialogue is kind of dumb and just kind of drags things out. So,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
mean, but like I said, that is honestly my complaint about every action movie is that they're too long and the final action scene is usually too dumb or too long or too convoluted or whatever. Like they really try to, they try to make that last action scene excuse me, they try to make that last action scene really memorable and the biggest one of the movie.
yeah.
For example, Black Widow. The final action scene in Black Widow is kind of the goofiest action scene, and I don't think it's the best action scene, but it's certainly the longest.
Yeah.
Not for the better. And Jungle Cruise is kind of the same. So I mean, it's not. It's I guess it's nothing personal. It's just because it's like the same complaint I have about every action movie I walk out of.
Well, yeah, at least it didn't an headquarters falling from the sky, so that's something.
Yeah. I mean, it had a lot of other goofy stuff that was equally unbelievable, but okay. I mean, the whole plot is like, this is all in the trailer, so I don't think this is a spoiler. But they're trying to find a plant that heals people or whatever, and it's like, all right, well, I don't know, sure. Anyway, it was still good. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater in the Dolby Digital, and
Yeah, that's the best way to watch a movie.
yeah, it's easily the best. I mean, if you're the type of person that only goes to the movies every once in a while just to see the big action movies, do yourself a favor and see it in Dolby if you can, because it really makes a big difference. It's definitely more expensive. It's like depending on where you live, it's $4 or $5 more to see it, but I think it's worth it. Like if you're gonna pay $10 to see it on a normal screen, just pay the $15 to see it on the awesome screen with the awesome sound and the awesome seats, like the leather recliners. That's a no brainer. That's the best $5 you can spend. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're not like if you're gonna go to the movies to see the Jungle Cruise and you're not gonna see it on Dolby, like maybe just wait for it and watch it at home.
true. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say pay $30 to watch it at home unless you were with, 4 or 5 people or whatever. But I would say go for those kind of movies, like pay the extra $5 and get the premium experience. I think you'll be sorry if you don't.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. So what's coming up? Let's talk about a few things that are coming up here in the next couple weeks or so. You have a few things noted down here.
Yeah, two actually, and they are both coming out on the August 6th. So that's next Friday. It's a hit and run from Netflix. It's an action thriller um, about yeah, a man losing his wife um, uh, through a hit and run accident. So yeah, when she's gone, he discovers a lot of secrets and things she kept from him. So I think that's a pretty.
Is this a
Um,
movie or a show?
I think it's a movie, but let me
Okay.
check real quick.
I'm just unfamiliar with it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I
Looking at
think
the
no, it's a season. Season one is
series.
starting at yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Series, yeah. Sorry.
And looking at the actors in it, I don't recognize any of them, which is kind of exciting. Like I get tired of seeing the same actors over and over.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's I think the good part of Netflix. They give new actors or unknown actors a chance to to be in a major-ish series or movie.
Yeah,
So I think
especially
that's
foreign. Like this is a foreign made. This was a series that was made in Israel, so it's um, another example of Netflix taking like non-American actors and non-American directors and giving them an outlet to be seen in an American market, which I think is really
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
true. But even though it's produced in Israel, the voice acting is in English, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So
Did they film it originally in English? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's cool. And
And the
cool for
second
me.
one, and the second one, the second one is Vivo or Vivo. Not sure how to pronounce
Vivo?
it.
I would say Vivo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an animated music movie thing from Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Yeah.
which has been created by Sony.
Yeah. Looks like.
Um, and yeah, I think it's Lin-Manuel Miranda's songs and music is pretty good in my opinion. Always very strong.
Looks like
Um,
the person that directed this movie is named Kirk D'Amico,
mhm.
and he also co-wrote and co-directed The Croods, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah,
So that's
true.
good.
Yeah,
I did not know this was
yeah,
coming out. I had no idea.
yeah. Don't think Netflix is promoting it very much, even though it's yeah,
No, I
maybe.
never know how to judge that though. Like I do sometimes think that too. Like, oh, this is a big thing from Netflix or from HBO or whatever, and they're not they're not promoting it. But then I think, okay, well, when I browse the internet, I use ad blockers. So if they're advertising it on any web page that I'm looking at, I'm probably not seeing it. All of the streaming services that I subscribe to them without ads, so I don't see ads there. I don't listen to any kind of radio that has advertisements, and so I'm like, I feel like it's easy to say. I just wonder, like, because I often find myself thinking that too, like, man, they're not really promoting this, or they're not advertising for this show or this movie or whatever. But then I think back, like, well, I'm only saying that because I haven't seen any ads for it, but I'm the type of person that I go way out of my way to avoid advertising. Um, so then I'm not sure if it's fair. Like, I don't know. Like, I always I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt at this
Hmm.
point, because have had this realization that, like, well, maybe it's not fair for me to tell people, oh, they're not promoting this or not promoting that, when I go out of my way to escape all commercials and advertisements and promotions. That being
Yeah,
said, I haven't
fair
seen
point.
anything for Vivo, but like I just explained, like I don't. It would be pretty hard to get an advertisement through to me. I think what matters a lot is if how heavily it's promoted within the app.
Yeah, I think not at all. At least
No, I
not
haven't noticed anything,
no. Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they must, right? Like you don't get like Lin Manuel Miranda's like red hot, right? He's never. I'm not sure that he's ever been more popular. So if you have a movie that is uh, based on his songs, I mean, why would you not be advertising, like trying to make everyone aware of that? I, right?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
true.
he's a big star, and he's also a star that's generally associated with Disney. So
Yeah.
why would you not want to tell potential viewers, like, that guy who's like doing everything for Disney and everyone loves him over on Disney. Like, this guy did a movie for us too. Like, why, come over and check it out and try to steal some eyeballs away from Disney Plus. Seems like they would want to do that.
Yep, I agree.
I don't know. That being said, I'm not sure I'm going to watch this movie.
Well, I think I will give it a go.
Will you?
I mean,
okay, you can let me know how it
yeah.
is then.
I will do.
What is it about? Let's see. The premise. The film follows a one-of-a-kind kinkajou, I don't know what that is, named Vivo. Looks like it's some kind of animal. Let's confirm.
Yeah, I think
that.
it's the monkey, right?
It's kind of monkey looking. It's a tropical rainforest mammal. Similar to a raccoon, and a ring-tailed.
So they are
lemur or something. It's also known as the honey bear. Anyway, it's about this bear-looking thing named Vivo, who spends his days playing music to the crowds in a lively Havana square with his beloved owner, Andres. And then a bunch of other stuff happens. I won't read the whole thing. It's a whole paragraph. But
well, basically they communicate through the love of music. Because obviously they can speak the same language. So
true. Well, that's our time. We're over. Hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, way over.
Too long. Thank you for listening. Those of you who are able to tune in live, thank you for joining. Thanks for participating in the chat room. We will probably by sometime tonight, American time, I will have this episode up on YouTube so people can listen to it on demand if they want to. And thanks again for being here. We really appreciate it. Mark?
Yeah, thank you all, and see you next time.
All right. Say goodbye.